We're going to hold for a minute because this is the third time now that I've attempted to record and someone keeps walking up. I'm sitting in the box office waiting for films to get off screen so that I can go home because I'm filming a big chunk of a Donald Farmer movie tomorrow with Madeline Fallon. But every time I hit record, somebody walks up and needs something. So we're gonna do this and hopefully get through it this time. So growing up, I was a child of the video store, and we would always rent stuff based on the covers. And there's heady days before the internet when you couldn't just go look up, what this thing was about. And renting the stuff based on the cover, you would get like, oh, Michael Berryman on the cover of The Hills Have Eyes is creepy, or the ghoulie popping out of the toilet on the Ghoulies cover, or this movie, Creepazoid from 1988, directed by David DeCoteau. This is a movie I've been wanting to talk about for a long time because this is a quintessential Southern California video store staple. Much like the film that he made directly before this, Sorority Babes in a Slimeball Bowl-O-Rama, which he made with Charles Band. Band saw the dailies on Creepazoid and was so impressed that he signed DeCoteau to a 10-picture deal. And he'd gone on and after that and did like big stuff like Puppet Master 3, which I think is one of the best of the entire series. Dr. Alien, which has another great box cover that would catch your attention. The Killer Eye he did for Full Moon after Empire Pictures had shut down. He did all the 1313 movies, which were like softcore, gay, sci-fi, horror, erotica. D.B. Cooper versus Bigfoot, which I know they reviewed on Red Letter Media when Len Kabasinski was there, because he shot that around the same time that I was shooting Swamp Zombies 2 with Len. What else did he do? I don't know. He's done like a Test Tube Teens from the year 2000. He's done all kinds of shit. So this one right out of the gate is one that I rented a bunch of times. Just that title, Creepazoid, is just great. It's like, what the fuck does that even mean? It was supposed to be a title for another movie that he was doing, but Charles Band liked the title so much he had him use it on this one. Shot in 15 days. It's clearly an Alien ripoff, but it also kind of reminds me a lot of Bruno Mattei's Rats Night of Terror with Jaretta from Demons as well, who I know. It's basically during World War III, in the distant future of 1997. A group of deserters are making their way through the wasteland, which is really just the old warehouse district of California, and they have to take shelter because of acid rain, because obviously the earth is so polluted from nuclear war. And they take cover inside the studio that used to belong to and this isn't in the movie, although it would be awesome. In reality, they filmed at the studio of a former Hustler photographer. So they filmed it at her studio, and it's supposed to be like this scientific outpost where they were doing some kind of research. The movie starts off with a woman doing an experiment on what looks like a fish tank with like wires in it, and there's a knock on the door. She opens it, and then they show the alien like right away, and it looks like the xenomorph, except it has like bug mandibles. It's always weird to show your monster that early into it, but right away from that what kind of movie you're getting into. And Linnea Quigley is the kind of the main draw of this one. She and the other main actress were supposed to have each other's roles, but the other actress was not comfortable with doing the nudity, so Linnea Quigley did it. But then that actress who didn't do the scene because of the nudity went on to become a porn actress, so I don't know, good for her, man. But Linnea Quigley always shines in stuff like this, especially her as Spider in Sorority Babes in a Slimeball Bowl-O-Rama, or when they went on to do Nightmare Sisters, which is another fun, weird one. We did a review of that with my friend who passed away, Christy, and Fallon a year ago, and I don't know if the footage still exists, but if it does, I really want to post the reviews of that. We did Nightmare Sisters, we did Burial Ground, and we did Grizzly 2. And so I'm hoping that eventually I'll be able to find that footage, because I'd love to have a little piece of Christy and us bouncing off each other, But yeah, so this group of people hide in this outpost, and there's hot water and there's food, but like everything else around is like covered in cobwebs and like been clearly left for a really long time. But they just find like fresh food and shit like that. It's like, all right, whatever, David Dakota, you made this movie in 15 days. There's lines like, shag it, which I love when people say that in this movie, and then I'll say it like I'll put it in a script or something like that when they're like telling people to get moving faster, say shag it. um, Whenever they have to, like, they find there's a room behind the lab, and they have to crawl through like air ducts for it. It's clearly tall enough to stand in, but they make it look like they have to crawl along the ground each time. It's pretty funny and adorable. But again, this movie had a theatrical run. Charles Band was so fucking impressed by what he had seen that he put this in a movie theater as a double feature with Slave Girls from Beyond Infinity, which is basically just the Skinamax version of The Most Dangerous Game, but that's another one that has just fucking killer box art where you're like, oh, well, of course I'm gonna watch this, I'd be stupid not to. There's like the shower scene where the guy follows Linnea Quigley, and he's like, I'll keep guard, of you in the shower, and she's like, no, you're not, you're gonna come. And like, now they're in the shower together, and it's like her in her contract there has to be a topless shower scene, which is fine with me. Back in the day, Linnea Quigley. Just look at Return of the Living Dead. It's just like the naked tomb dance. You're like, all right, yeah, I'm fucking in. You ever seen the movie Jacko that Fredolyn Ray did? She's in that one, and she has a shower scene in that, which just like is not needed, but it's like, all right, well, I appreciate that it's in there. That movie's about a killer pumpkinhead monster, and I always wanted him to let us make the sequel Jack O, but it's two pumpkin heads this time for OO for two, because that's the level of complexity that my writing is working off of. But Fred was saying he wants to do a Hollywood Chainsaw Hookers 2. And I know that he gave myself and the guy who used to be on his show, he gave us both Hollywood Chainsaw Hooker shirts when we had him out for the VHS Fest at the Mahoning Drive-In, and they showed Hollywood Chainsaw Hookers with Brink Stevens and Michelle Bauer and Linnea Quigley and Gunnar Hansen, the original Leatherface. You're our main guy, is like kind of our lead. He accidentally stumbles upon what they were doing in this lab, and he gets some of the monster goo in him. And then you have the scene, which totally wasn't ripped off from Alien, where everyone's sitting around having a meal, and he freaks out, and black shit's coming out of his mouth and all. And so there's now an alien monster that's loose with them. And there's also like a rat puppet that keeps attacking people, and it's adorable. It's not as bad as the cat puppet in The Uninvited. I think it was George Kennedy was in that one. If you've ever seen that one, it's about a mutant cat inside another cat on a yacht. It's awful and hilarious, and a lot of times from with the transfer, the puppet will be here and you can see the hand of the guy. There's one scene especially in the truck when it attacks the driver where you can see the puppeteer's hand, and it's adorable. But we have our monster. It's a big black xenomorph looking thing with bug mandibles, and it's killing people. And Linnea Quigley's fighting a rubber rat, and people are having black shit come out of their mouths, and we learn about the mission that was going on there. And I just straight up took big chunks of this concept and was like, well, yeah, that's what Infestoid should be about, is people hiding in a place where there's a research lab where something went wrong and they don't know about it. Because there's been so many of these movies. It's like the Assault on Precinct 13 style storytelling where or Night of the Living Dead, you put people in a space and then see how they deal with that cat and mouse-ness of it all. And again, like I said about Rats Night of Terror with Greta Geretta, very similar plot to this one, where it's a bunch of Mad Max style wanderers who have to take up shelter because of I think it was because of acid rain as well, because the Earth was nuked. And inside there, the rats have become the dominant species on Earth and on the surface. And in the end, they're saved by people in hazmat suits. And when they lift up their masks, they're rat human hybrids. And it's one of the greatest endings in movie history. This one doesn't quite have this. So Linnea Quigley was supposed to get raped and impregnated by the monster, which would have led to the baby monster at the end of this movie. But instead, the last guy who keeps having to crawl through air ducts like he's John McClane, but obviously the air duct's big enough to stand in, he's fighting the monster, and the monster follows him into this back storage room, and it just so happens that the antidote that he needs is the only thing on the closest shelf to where he's standing. So he jabs the monster, and then the monster gives birth to like a little baby monster. It looks like a little Garbage Pail Kid. He fucking kicks it, and then he strangles it with its own umbilical cord, which is badass. But it's like in the last 5 minutes of the movie that happens. So it's like we still need 5 more minutes of movie. I don't know, baby monster. And then the baby monster comes out, and then the dude leaves, and then the baby's alive. And that's your sequel bait to a sequel that never happened. But there was at one point a conversation about it, and apparently some test footage was done for Creepazoid 2. I would love to get the rights to that and make, baby mutant hybrid monsters. It's sort of like Island of It's Alive, the Coen's movie. But no, this is a really fun piece of economic filmmaking. It's like we can put everybody in a space. It's post-apocalyptic. We've got a monster. Roll with it, and it's a concept that's been done 100 million times. But I just feel like this one is like a perfect encapsulation of that time and that place of the VHS market. Again, I would have loved to have seen this as a double feature with Slave Girls from Beyond Infinity. But it was cool that Dakota was able to make this in 15 fucking days with so little money, and and it's something that people still talk about. I know that it's been covered by other movie reviewers. I know way back in the day, the Cinema Snob did it. I know way back, Good Bad Flicks did it when I used to watch them. It's a fun movie, and it's perfectly cheesy and slimy, and you know exactly what they're ripping off in it, but it works for this type of film, and the actors are all, they're campy enough. It's got some ridiculous lines, it's got nudity, it's got slime and baby monsters getting strangled with their own umbilical cords. But no, this was a good one, man. I think Linnea Quigley also was a producer on this one. She came on to produce it. But now I'm trying to figure out. It's gonna drive me nuts because I think Mutant Spawn 2000 was the original title, but I know I'm wrong on that one, and I'm gonna look later, and it's gonna piss me off that I didn't get it right. This is one of my favorites when it comes to just like what you can do with a little budget and with one location and with a cool monster suit that if you don't show it too much and you light it correctly. This is a fun one. But so is Rat's Night of Terror. Rat's Night of Terror is awesome, and I combined a whole bunch of these different movies into my Infestoid script, which I hope to shoot one day, and that's another fun one. But that one is about. It takes place at the very end of a big sci-fi action movie. So you just see the team that survived leaving the spaceship where the genetic testing was happening. And there's a dollar value for all these spaceships and stuff. So they can't just let them drift out in space. So they have to send cleaning crews to clean them up and get them ready to go for experiments to continue and stuff. So our space marines leave. They leave a fucking mess behind, and then the whole movie would revolve around these like basically deep space cleaning ladies. They're just blue collar single moms and women trying to get their life back together who deal with bullshit in a man's world, and they're dropped off on this ship, and they say, look, we're going to be back in 48 hours. Let's get this place cleaned up and back in business. So it's like it's that movie Sunshine Cleaning with Amy Adams where they clean up crime scenes. I think the idea came from watching that. But so you have this group of women and they're out there on their lonesome, and they're bagging bodies and cleaning slime and doing all the stuff that cleaning ladies do. And then it turns out that there was one egg sac of these infestoid creatures still left on a power coupling, and it hatches, and now it's basically, these ladies who've been dealt a shit hand in life now have to kind of stand up again and stay alive for 48 hours till help comes to get them. So it was a fun one. That was the one that I wrote that I gave to like some more of my like feminist friends, and we're like, okay, everything I write is tits and gore. What do you think about this? And they're like, oh wow, you actually wrote like women, like actual women. I was raised by a single mother, so I know what it's like. I know, watching her struggle when we were little kids and stuff like that. So I tried to include a lot of my mom and a lot of watching like my former best friend, the redheaded girl. She she was working. She works, I think. I don't know. We don't talk anymore. But in a very male-dominated industry, and it's hard to be taken seriously as a woman in that industry and listened to and all that. So I wrote a lot of the point of view of how she would tell me back when we used to be friends about how she dealt with men in her life and people talking down to her and second guessing her and all that kind of stuff. So I wrote a bunch of that stuff in there, but also like alien bugs and shit like that. And everybody's named after a famous 80s VHS Scream Queen. All the ships are named after the video lines of the 1980s, like Vestron and Golan Globus and stuff like that. So, Rats and Creepazoid definitely inspired those ideas. And it's something I hope to do one day. I want to make maybe we'll get to make Creepazoid 2. I doubt it, but it would be kind of fucking cool, yeah, thank you, David Dakota. Thank you, Charles Band, for giving us this movie that I've watched tons and tons of times. It used to be on USA Up All Night a lot with Rhonda Shear and Gilbert Godfrey. I don't know, it was just special. There was a special time when there was a lot of creativity coming out of the California film scene, which is a little bit for straight to video stuff, which is a little bit more bubblegum, and then you had like the Frank Henenlotter stuff that was coming out of New York at that time, which was a lot harder, more 42nd Street. But they both existed in this same realm of late 70s, early 80s to mid 80s exploitation films that found their life on late night TV, Cinemax, HBO, Showtime, or in the shelves of the mom and pop video store. And that's basically where I got my education when it came to film and filmmaking, of what I wanted to do and see where they borrow from different places to create something new. Like there's a guy online on YouTube, I think he's the Bad Movie Bible. He did a whole series of movies that rip off a more popular movie. So he has like a whole two-parter about movies that tried to cash in on Die Hard, and a whole one about movies that came out in the wake of Star Wars. And he had a 3-video one about movies that came out of Alien and Aliens, Ridley Scott's Alien first, and then Cameron's second, and how much that influenced everything that Roger Corman was doing at that point, like Alien ripoffs, Mutant, all kinds of shit that was coming out at that time. Dark Crystal, not the puppet one, but the sci-fi one. There was just a lot of stuff that was coming out at that time because it was a very popular genre. It's like, okay, it's a haunted house in space, or this one, it's like, okay, well, downtown LA where the warehouses look like post-apocalyptic times, we're just going to say it's post-apocalyptic times, and we're but yeah, I don't know, this was a fun one, and I love low budget, high concept movies that just they're there, everyone's there to put on a fucking show, and they put on a show, and it's got cool music and synthy 80s stuff. It's got a monster suit, it's got nudity, it's got gore, it's got all the things that you would want if you're a 13-year-old boy or a 41-year-old fucking loser. So, no one came and stopped me this time. We made it through a full 19 minutes of me rambling about Creepazoid. So, if you have not seen it yet, I would definitely say for you to check it out. Sorry, I'm just looking... Okay. I just had a bunch of things pop up on my laptop about, sending in my employees' payroll and everything to make sure it was all done properly. Also, this reminds me. So Linnea Quigley was too small to fit in the costume that they got her, so they gave her a child-size boots and camo pants. And it reminds me of back when I used to do Underbelly. I played Poliwhirl when we did our Pokemon episode, and I needed a blue sweatsuit for it, and they didn't have any in my size in the adult section. And that same redhead went to Walmart and got me a child size, and it fit. So yeah, I'm only 5'5", and I was much thinner back then too. So that was my time where I had to wear a child size sweatpants and sweatshirt. Actually, Justin Silverman in that one was wearing pink. He got a women's size from Walmart from the same one. I just remember before that shoot, it was like, oh, I'd get mine from the kids section. It's like, oh, I got mine from the ladies section. And then we were filming dressed as Pokemon, and the cops came and wanted to know what the fuck was going on in that episode. I remember that. We filmed it in like a cornfield or something. And that was like 2011. And I just realized now how fucking long ago that was. We shot our very first Underbelly one in 2009, and it didn't air until 2010. That's like 3 lifetimes ago for me. There's literally no one from that video, except for Stuart Zagnut, who was the voice of Professor Oak, who still talks to me. Creepazoid! Let me know, what's your favorite, what was your go-to VHS movie when you were younger? What's the one that you just, you loved how cheesy it was and something you always tell people about? I tell people about Creepazoid all the time. I think it's wonderful. That whole era of Empire Pictures that Band had at that point, before they went bankrupt and he became Full Moon, there's so much good shit in that era there of, the Trancers movies and stuff, to a great catalog. And I think MGM might have it now, but even when he went over to start Full Moon, some really, really good shit over there too. In more recent years, I haven't been as crazy about things. I did a video on the first Baby Oopsie, which I loved. But everything else has been kind of. I watched the newest Subspecies movie and really wasn't impressed by it. Never really been a fan of like the Ginger Dead Man movies or like the Killer Bong movies. They're all basically the exact same movie done over and over and over again. But then again, so are the fucking Friday the 13th movies, so who knows? But I don't know. There's something special about that era of like Charles Band and Fredo and Ray and Jim Wynorski and David Dakota. They were all doing interesting shit, and they still are in all their own rights. David Dakota's gone on to do a lot of stuff like Talking Dog movies where Eric Roberts just does a voice, and you can tell he's doing it over the phone because he just doesn't fucking care. And he just films them all at his house. But I guess if you could do that and you could get distribution, why the fuck not? Or like all the 13 movies, he was just like, I'm just going to have a bunch of like muscular dudes hang out at my apartment. If you're a gay director, you're going to be like, fuck yeah, I'm going to do that. He also directed under the name Dick Chasin, which I think is just chef's kiss. So that's my dissertation on David Dakota and Creepazoid. I'm a big fan of this movie. I will put it on a lot just because it's fun and cheesy and it's exactly what you want out of a low budget movie that knows exactly what it is. It's not trying to be anything other than just fun, cheesy cat and mouse with a monster sci-fi VHS cheese. So that's all for this week. I hopefully will keep staying ahead on videos so that we can, because I have I'm going to Alabama in October to shoot Vampire with Jeffrey Parker and New Vision Films. I'm gonna go out and do some stuff with Triple Xmas when that hits in November. And I'm talking to Cameron Smith, who's an ex-pro skateboarder, about doing a movie called Late Fees, which I wrote for him, which is basically, couldn't use Blockbuster because I couldn't get the rights to it. So Real Talk Video is our stand-in for Blockbuster. It's like the largest video store conglomerate that there was. And the son of the man who created the thing is a spoiled brat. He's a drug addict. He's fucked up in the head. His way of getting back his family's lineage is to send Mad Max-style bounty hunters out into the world to retrieve all unreturned videotapes by force. And our story picks up with a YouTube review show, which, as a gimmick, has the largest collection of unreturned videos. And it's it's a couple heavyset guys and an attractive girl. And they're in their studio and they have to fight off, these insane VHS bounty hunter murderers who are named Head Cleaner, Top Loader, and Glitch, which are all VHS things, and they kill with VHS style weapons. So I wrote that. I wrote like 100 pages in like 7 days and handed it off, and now I'm just waiting for his notes back. The collecting of the old videos, kind of based on Dinosaur Dracula, his whole thing where he has big collections of out of print, old gimmicky, Happy Meals and shit like that. And then like some of these other video review shows or movie review shows who they all have a gimmick and they're all playing like a character. And then like how they act when the chips are down and they're actually dealing with this shit. So that's a fun one. It allowed me to, get out some animosity towards other YouTubers. Not the ones you would expect, but some stuff I was told is way too on the nose when I got the first set of notes, so I went back and I changed it, and I was like, yeah, that would probably get a call from a lawyer. But again, it's one location, plenty of gore, some sexy ladies, some cool, Lost Boys style armor and Mad Max style armor that's all VHS based, and hopefully we get a chance to make it out in Pittsburgh, because I think it would be a lot of fucking fun. And then the movie Scissors that I wrote is almost done filming. I wrote that LBGTQ slasher with Crude Cinema, and he went to these other producers and out in LA, and I got started getting pictures of the glory hole sets that we shot, because it's this very not funny, not a Newt script. It's very dark and very sexually violent, and it's a mystery, and it's sort of like Joel Schumacher's 8mm or 7 or the George C. Scott movie Hardcore, kind of all mixed up in this world of sadomasochism, a little cruising in there, the William Friedkin movie. I tried to write them something that was just pitch black. They wanted no comedy in it. So that was fun. It's cool to see it now getting made. So there's stuff going on. And and we'll get back into Florida Man soon and all that stuff. This summer has just been a lot of work, and getting the shoot done tomorrow for Donald Farmer, and then in October shooting another thing for Donald Farmer where I'm shooting with Will Keenan, who was in Tromeo and Juliet. He's been on Special Victims Unit and stuff like that. He's a pretty known actor within the Troma world and the indie film world out in Delaware, with Brian Wilde, who shot the segment for me that I wrote in Debbie Does Demons, which is out right now in Culture Shock releasing, and is selling really fucking well. It's one of the few things that I've been part of that really is doing well. So I'm excited about the fall and the winter and making stuff, and hopefully all this is a precursor to making something like a David Duchovny movie or like a Fred Olen Ray movie. So we'll see. All right, guys, I won't waste any more of your time. Have a good one, and don't take shelter in any abandoned warehouses that while running from toxic rain, which is actually a front for a lab that creates a not xenomorph and then has a not alien style breakfast scene. If you're going to plagiarize from the best, right?